Good afternoon. If you are looking for critical business updates for business owners, you're in the right place. We're going to get started in just about 1 minute. All right. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for critical business updates for business owners every Friday right here at 3 p.m. So glad to have you all with us. This is the Northeast Colorado call for critical resource updates for business owners. Let's go to our first slide here. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors for this call. I'm working so hard to put it together each and every week. Startup Colorado, the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, the Gualala Commons, GrowSeco, the Pacific Canopy, the East Colorado Small Business Development Center, the Telluride Foundation, and the Northwest Colorado Small Business Development Center. I'm Lisa Hudson. I'm the director of the East Colorado SBDC. And just a few housekeeping items before we jump in for today's call. Wanted to let all of our participants know that at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A box, and you can click on that. And anytime you've got a question during today, whether it's during our presenter or our panelist, make sure that you type in your question, and we'll do our best to get those answered as we go through. So let's go ahead and go to our next slide, please. So our agenda for today is really focusing on our small producers and really the farmers market, that industry, that arena. And we've got some great presenters today. We have Alexa Vasquez from Noco Virtual Farmers Market, a small producers panel, some small businesses throughout Eastern Colorado, including Healthy Harvest, Crummy's Meatless Crumble, and a local farm producer out of Lyman. After that, we're going to wrap things up with a Q&A and send you off for the weekend. Let's go to our next slide, please. A few things that I'd like to touch on with this. There are some excellent trainings available through the Colorado State University Extension Office. The one thing that I really want to focus on with this slide is their class, that the food safety training for Colorado cottage food producers, is typically a 2-day program, and they've taken it fully online to a half day. So an excellent opportunity if you haven't taken this class and you are in that cottage food industry to log on. It's $40 to pre-register through Eventbrite. You can find more information on this website. And even if this isn't the class for you, you should really go and check out everything that they have to offer, some phenomenal opportunities for you. And you can do that by going to ext.colostate.edu. Next slide. I'm going to toss this one over to Kat to review all of this information here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lisa. Kat Pappenbrock, I'm with the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. I'm one of the rural reps here in the state. And just to kind of set the stage a little bit for today's conversations, I just wanted to present some data that we just got out of CSU. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, if you were on the call, we had Don Philmany on talking about some of the initial impacts and recommendations, some issues that Colorado farms and ranchers were facing with COVID. And she and her team, excuse me, at the Office of Community and Economic Development and our Ag and Resource Economics team at CSU have put together some initial numbers of the impacts to Colorado markets due to COVID. So you can see those here on the screen. Their conservative estimate is that we've seen to date a 3.9 million decline in sales, which of course impacts payroll over $500,000, and then that multiplier loss to the economy and all of our local economies of over 6.7 million. One of the things that was really interesting in this data is that, we've had a lot of conversations about businesses and, definitely a lot of focus on restaurants that are closed and trying to reopen. But when it comes to our farms and producers, really the biggest impact is on those direct to consumer sales. That kind of farmers market and direct sales portion is 4.9 million of that 6.7 million multiplier loss. So just to kind of get the sort of bad news out of the way before we get into this great panel discussion, but also to let all of you know that CSU is still working on policy recommendations to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 on Colorado farms and ranches. specifically around selling through local and regional food markets. So you can check those out and more on the research at that link below, foodsystems.colostate.edu/COVID-19. And be sure to keep in touch with them if you have any ideas for policy changes or challenges that you're facing as well. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa for some more announcements and then our wonderful panelists. Thanks all for being here.
Thanks so much. Let's go to that next slide. So before I jump into our first presenter, I'd like to feature one event that we have coming up called Social Media 101. It's how can your business stand out on social now more than ever? So we're going to have a great event. This will be online, obviously, on May 20th at 3 p.m. And you can register for that free of charge at the East Colorado website or go to bit.ly/EastCoSBDC. You'll also be able to see all of our other events that we have coming up on that link there. All right, let's go to our next slide. Now I'd like to have the pleasure of introducing our first presenter, Alexa Vasquez from Noco Virtual Farmers Market. Thank you so much for participating with us today. I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, hi, I'm so happy to be here. I am the owner of the Noco Virtual Farmers Market. We are up here in Fort Collins and we serve all the Northern Colorado community. So we make food deliveries of fresh goodies from members here in Fort Collins to all the way up to Greeley, Johnstown, Severance, LaPorte, Loveland, Wellington, Windsor. So let's see. I had your questions pulled up and now they're gone.
So the first question that we have on here was, what promoted you to build the online farmers market? Was it before or after the start of COVID as the pandemic came to us?
Yeah, so it was right after the pandemic came, and I was a vendor at the farmers markets here in town, along with a lot of other folks that I knew who were vendors. All of our events were canceled, all of our markets were canceled. And so we didn't have another way to, get our products out to our customers, and we needed to figure out how do we do that. So this was really a project that was born based on trying to ensure that the people of our community can remain in their homes and not have to go out and still, stay home and abide with social distancing. But also it was a chance to connect customers with local and small businesses, as well as farmers and small producers that you would normally find at the farmers market. So this was really a project that was born to connect our community. Let's see.
The next question is, how do you see Noco Virtual Farmers Market solving some of the pain points small producers are feeling at the moment? Especially for our small producers whose seasonal revenue typically depends on the sales of local restaurants and small retail stores.
Yeah, so I think we connect the bridge. We are the bridge between the consumer and those small producers. So vendors, actually Stephanie is a vendor with us from Crummy's Meatless Crumbles. Vendors, small producers like herself, have the ability to connect with the greater community. And this really helps to keep those small businesses sustainable and keep their doors open and going during a time where everything is being forced to be shut down. So those small producers can't sell to restaurants anymore. They can't supply markets or grocery stores anymore. And so the Noco Virtual Farmers Market is really a way to connect the consumer and keep those businesses running, keep their doors open, keep them producing, keep them farming in a time that, all of those sales have declined and all of those outlets have declined.
Well, that's great. And from your perspective in the food value chain, from supply to consumption, what are the pains you see that need resolving in the regional food supply chain?
Well, I think the biggest issue right now is, these larger industrial farms and producers, they had to cut production. They can't have a multitude of people working for them. So that really, stops that food supply chain in its tracks. So consumers, if they can't leave their homes, they can't, if they do leave their homes, they get to the grocery store, there's nothing on the shelves. That's a big problem right now. And even so, how fresh are those vegetables that are getting there? How long was that, were those foods in, trucks or waiting to be moved from the farm to the market? So, I really think from my perspective, that's a huge thing that needs to be resolved, and a problem that needs to be met. And with the Noco virtual farmers market, we try to fix that.
What are the gains, maybe some opportunities you see that can be developed in the regional food supply chain?
I think matching or bringing back this notion of connecting the local community with local suppliers is one of the biggest things. I feel like in our life, we kind of lost track of where our food comes from. And so this project is really trying to connect our community back with our local foods, fresh farm to table foods, fresh vegetables, all local here in Colorado, grown in Colorado, produced in Colorado, maybe even grown at your neighbor's house right across the street. It's really an opportunity to connect and bring us back to a time where we were already, working with local producers. I think a lot of us have disconnected from that, and part of this is bringing that locality back.
Yeah, well, what an interesting concept, and I'm so glad you could join us today. Now, we do have a few questions that have come through. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we jump into those questions?
No, I'm ready to answer.
Right on. Okay, so the first question up is actually from someone on our team, and she was asking, how is recruiting done for your vendors?
Yeah, so I started on a Facebook page, and the Facebook page really drew in a lot of members of the community who invited a lot of our vendors to the Facebook page. So in the beginning, it was really vendors were coming to us and saying, oh, I too have lost all of my events, and I do this. This is my small business. We run with you. Now it's kind of grown into, we now have a website where people can go and actually apply to become a vendor. Yeah.
And so what software or online platform are you using for like inventory, orders, payment processing, and what does that look like for someone who's getting on board with you? What kind of skill sets do they need to be up with the tech, if you say?
Yeah, so now ordering is all done through going to nocovirtualfarmersmarket.com. It's a large, it's basically a large e-commerce multi-vendor website on a smaller scale. So you can think of it as an eBay and Amazon, but on a more local scale. And you can shop all of the vendors. Each of our vendors have their own page. They have their own shop on our website. And you can purchase from multiple different vendors and get it delivered right to your doorstep all in one order. Let's see if you...
Great. So here's a new question that we've got in the Q&A. It says, would you ever consider moving to northeastern Colorado, Morgan, Yuma, Ray, Logan, or Washington counties?
Yes, Absolutely. I get a lot of questions every single week about more places that we can expand to, and those are all in our field of vision right now.
Great. And the last question I see here is, does Noco Virtual Farmers Market have any hemp product vendors participating in your virtual market?
Yes, right now we have 3, actually 4 that have hemp products. Is one, Canna World is another, Redbird Naturals has some hemp products, and Biatch has some hemp products as well available.
Okay, so it looks like we went ahead and answered the questions in the Q&A box. One last question that I have for you is, if someone wanted to get involved with Noco Virtual Farmers Market, how do they do that? How do they get in touch with you?
So they can visit our website, nocovirtualfarmersmarket.com. There is a contact page there where you can send it over to us, ask questions. There's a vendor registration page if you are a vendor and you are wanting to join our team. And then if you are interested in driving with us, you can again contact us through that page, and we'll be actually putting up a careers page here within the next week too, so that we can put out opportunities to join our team, to work on the back end with us, to join our sorting team, join our delivery team, as well as learn more about being a vendor with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Alexa. I know that the small business owners and all of the participants today have really gotten a lot out of hearing about this really cool way that you've taken a traditional market and put it online. So way to go, and so excited to see more from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we're going to go to our next slide, and I'm really excited to introduce the next group of people that we have, because really creative and cool products that are now ready to explore all the things that they've done. So go ahead and have our panel turn on your videos and unmute yourselves. We're going to talk about small producers and the farmers market. So first up, we have Dwayne Stroh. He is with Healthy Harvest. He's the CEO, based out of Berthoud, Colorado. They provide non-GMO and cooking oils and organic cooking oils, and they started in 2013. We also have Stephanie Bodwin. She's the owner of Crummy's Meatless Crumble, based out of Milliken, Colorado. And really funny, I saw this on your website, Stephanie. I just have to say, immediately drawn to it. You had mentioned, about changing, to a product that fit your dietary needs, and you said, but what to do about Taco Tuesday? It's such a real problem. So glad to have you on. And our last panelist we have is Cleta Heiner-Felzing, and she has Cleta's Natural Beef, based in Lyman, Colorado, and we've got Cleta on the phone with us. So first up, panelists, what we'd like to do is talk about introduce yourselves, and has COVID-19 restrictions has your business been up, or has it been down? So we'll go ahead. Dwayne, I'm going to pass it off to you first.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You can hear me, right? Perfect. So we're a family-owned business over here in Berthoud, and what we do is we source non-GMO expeller-pressed oils and feeds, and we bring them over here and package them up and deliver them to restaurants and food manufacturers, and of course, people with animals. Typically, our customers are very frustrated trying to find chemical-free. Now, a lot of them are very concerned about safety. And of course, everyone's always worried about flavor. As far as our business goes, our wholesale is down significantly, 80%. Our retail went up our online business went up 700% for a while. It's now trading at about 330%. So all in all, we're a little slow right now, but we've been very fortunate.
Thanks. And Stephanie, introduce yourself and business up or down.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Bodwin with Crummy's Meatless Crumble. And I would say much like Dwayne, our wholesale is down, but we did start a online platform after COVID hit. So we are looking at an increase in retail in that sense. Yep. As well as being part of the Noco virtual farmers market.
Yeah, so interesting that we had you both on today. I mean,
yeah, we were excited.
I'm so glad that connection's already there.
I know, right?
And last but not least, Cleta, if you're able to unmute yourself, introduce your business and if business is up or down.
Okay, can you hear me? All right.
Yes, we can.
I have Piedmontese cattle, which is supposed to be lower in calories and cholesterol than regular beef. And I've always done pretty well. I've not ever been able to sell all of my calves as butchered animals, but I might have been able to this year if I'd have known we was going to have problems with the JBS and all of them happened to shut down. I have people from Denver and Colorado Springs calling me and wanting meat, and I've still got some, but I wish I'd have butchered a couple of more calves this last spring so that I could sell more meat. And my major problem is there's only like one USDA inspected plant close to me, and that's a Elizabeth Locker plant, and it is about an hour drive. And so, I mean, we need more USDA inspected lockers so that we can butcher more cattle is what it amounts to, because I can probably sell, right now I could sell every bit of meat I had within a very short period, but I'm not letting people have everything they want because I have a lot of clients that are local and they're used to buying good beef. And I think probably this will help me. I hate to say that COVID-19 is going to help me, but after people eat fresh beef and it doesn't come from the big packing plants, they're going to appreciate it more, and I think I'll have more clients in the future.
So, Cleta, now that I've got you unmuted, I'm going to point this first question for you to look at first. And the question is, what have you done to adapt or pivot your business model and marketing strategy since COVID-19, these restrictions have come to place? What have you done differently?
I wish I had have butchered more cattle, but the fact is people that know how good my meat is, they have told their friends and relatives, and that's the people that's calling me and as new clients, so new customers. So I think that's a good thing for me.
So you really encourage that word of mouth.
Yeah, I think I do word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Stephanie, Dwayne, anything you want to add as far as things you've done to pivot your business model?
Well, I'll jump in. We opened up an online ordering platform via our website, just specifically through Crummy's, and we were delivering to front porches in northern Colorado just to keep it that social distancing aspect, because we weren't sure what the rest of summer was going to look like for the farmers market season. So yeah, just opening up an online portal, I guess.
For us, we've probably done 20 hours of videos and training about what the new world wants. It seems like most of our customers are more focused on safety than they ever were before, and so we're presently making an in-house video showing the extra precautions that we're taking to make sure that everybody's food is safe. And then a lot of like this Zoom, meetings, which I way like better than a phone call or an email, but still prefer person to person. But those things, just kind of understanding that, in Colorado, 42% of all online grocery shoppers made their first order in March. So the world is changing very fast, and that's kind of where we're headed to.
And Dwayne, do you see any other changes on the horizon that aren't being really addressed or talked about quite yet?
There's a lot of things on the horizon that are not being talked about, but there's also more things on the horizon we don't even know about yet. So it's a very difficult question. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a tough one. And I think, you know, as people are starting to go back in and be in business, we'll see more of that come out for sure. I'm going to open up the next question. Which changes that you're seeing in business do you think will be temporary, and what do you think that you'll keep as a permanent practice as part of your business?
Are you still talking to me?
Anyone who's got something to say, Dwayne or Stephanie?
Well, for us, we think everything that's changed is going to stay changed, and a lot of the old things will come back and slowly in time, depending on how fast things open up and stuff. But we believe that a large kind of like where we were headed, and this virus just pushed everybody faster than we normally would have went. So I personally think that a lot of the changes are going to stay, and there are many changes yet that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think that there's going to be a lot of changes as far as regulations go for businesses. I work out of a commissary right now, so we are regulated by Weld County, but I think the restrictions and check boxes, if you will, are going to maybe be a lot longer as sanitary practices and hygiene kind of become an increasing issue. I don't think that's going anywhere. It was present before, but I think it's going to be even more concentrated on now. So.
Cleta, anything that you will continue doing that, maybe it's expanding kind of your market base?
Well, like I said, I think once the people will taste homegrown beef, that they will have a hard time going back to supermarket beef. So I think that I might have a lot more clients, and I really enjoyed the person who was on first that talked about her virtual farmers market. That would be something I might be interested in getting into, because my biggest problem with going to a farmer's market is you kill all day, and I have to keep the meat frozen. That's very difficult all day long in the summer. So I'm thinking about maybe just taking all my calves in and getting them butchered. I'll have to buy more freezers. That's all I know that's going to be a problem.
Sounds like you've got an investment in front of you. Speaking of our first presenter, she is still on. And Alexa, if there's anything you'd like to add in as we go through these questions, please feel free to participate as well. As I'm sure you have seen changes taking place in the farmers market arena, do you think that those will stay in place, whether it's a virtual market or people return to the traditional? Looks like I may have caught her off guard. We'll just move on to the next question here. So looking at how can small ag producers collaborate to increase the likelihood of success for each other, I'm going to have Stephanie maybe jump on this question first, since you've already gotten into the virtual market. Have you collaborated with any other producers?
Not necessarily other producers. This is our second farmers market in business, so we were really looking forward to this season to collaborate on a lot of ingredient sourcing to make it more local as far as that sourcing goes. So we're hoping that can still happen in some fashion as I create some conversations in these in-person farmers markets. But I think as far as partnerships go, that would be a big goal for me personally, is to local source a lot of my ingredients.
And Cleta or Dwayne, have you had any collaboration with other producers in the area?
Not really on my part. I mean, there's several farmers who sell beef full beef, half beef, or quarter beef, but I don't have anyone else that sells packaged meat like I do. But I think it'd be a good idea if a lot of people did that. People who their kids have all left home, they don't want a half a beef. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. So,
as far as us, the people that are in our business that distribute for us, and they distribute mainly to restaurants and stuff like Shamrock and Cheese Importers, and those guys are, their business has been really slowed down very, very significantly. Anybody that's got a food product, especially a healthy food product, and they have some kind of an online presence, has, it's helped a lot. A lot of them have done extremely well.
And, for anyone that has made a pivot with their business to adjust to what we're facing right now, before you made that pivot, did you survey your customers, or did you just jump in?
I didn't really think there was time to survey, to get a lot of answers back. So I just sort of jumped in. I had some mentors behind me kind of encouraging me to do so. And I just like, all right, let's do it. So I just sort of jumped in.
We did.
Okay. And how has your customer response been?
Super positive. I wish I had done it actually as soon as we started our business. So, hindsight's 2020, but I think moving forward, we'll always have the online platform open.
Yeah. And Dwayne, what were you?
And so our customers, we have a pretty unique deal where we track what they use, and we just show up every week. So a lot of our customers in the restaurant business simply were just missing in action. A lot of them are starting to call us back and make contact and reestablish. And so for us, we went pretty much as many hours as we could possibly run trying to keep up with our online business. So we didn't have a huge amount of conversation before the pivot, but we did contact everybody.
Cleta, I'm going to send this next one to you. Because of the growth of your business during this time, what makes you most hopeful when you consider the future of your business?
Well, I raise, like I said, Piedmontese cross cattle, so I have and I just have a small herd. And when you don't go big, sometimes you have a hard time selling things. And so I think since I have a certain type of breed, that it just works better for me to do more word of mouth stuff than anything else, because I don't have enough to go to a big supermarket and sell my beef. So this is just the way I do it. So.
Yeah. And Stephanie, what would you say makes you the most hopeful when you're considering the future of?
Well, I think for all small business owners right now, if you can find a way to persevere during this difficult time, we're going to be better for it, and kind of facing the future regulations or, income levels as that might be. But I think if we can overcome this, then there's a lot in store for us on a positive note in the future.
Dwayne, I know that you do a lot of development in your business, and I think as entrepreneurs, that's an important piece of it. So what are you doing daily to grow as an entrepreneur and a small business owner? What are things that you look at?
We do a lot of communication with our customers, both online and in the wholesale business, to find out what's important. We do a survey about every 3 months where our reps, which is our drivers, also have like a 3 or 4 question in survey that they answer. And things that we found out that are important, like what we're going to do with all the plastic in the world, is a big one. We've started moving to less plastic packaging, and in some cases no plastic, and certain deals that we can do. So just communication with our customers.
All right, and before we wrap up on our last question for the panel here today, I want to encourage participants, if you have any questions for our small business owners, our producers on the call today, make sure to utilize that Q&A function, and we will get to those in just a minute. So the last question is, what advice would you give to another small producer or farmer's market business that's listening today? I'm going to have Cleta, if you have any advice, we'll start off with you.
Well, you just have to hang in there. And if you're selling to city people, then you have to think like they do, because they consider me a supermarket, and they also think every steak on an animal is a T-bone. Then they have to be gently educated on some stuff like that. And I've got some really good clients out of Denver and Colorado Springs like that, because they were going, oh, we didn't know that, and they would find, they found out a lot about cattle that they didn't know, I guess.
Yeah. Stephanie, anything you would give as a piece of wisdom to our listeners today?
I would just say kind of keep the conversations going. I've been lucky enough to be on a lot of webinars with my spare time, and I think there's a lot of great resources out there with the SBDC and a lot of other great free resources. So just keep the conversations going, because you never know what you might learn.
And Dwayne, anything on your end?
Yeah, I would, what Cleta said about knowing your customer, I think that's extremely important. You gotta understand what they're thinking and what they're doing, and how they feel mostly is the big thing, and what's a big concern of them is what we're focusing on. I guess it remains to be seen if we're right or not.
All right. Well, thank you, panelists. We do have a question that came through, and this question is really regarding the supply chain disruption for our local restaurants. Have you guys seen anything going on with wholesale, and do you see an increase in orders as the national food supply is seeing shortages with the closure of large processing facilities?
Oh, that's an extremely interesting question. I used to feed a lot of cattle, and so it's been really curious to me that we can't get food, and then when you start talking to farmers in Wisconsin, they're dumping milk and having to kill pigs because they can't market them. And so I think there's a huge, this is totally speculation on my part, but I think there's a huge problem in the distribution program of being able to divert all of the groceries, if you will, that used to go to grocery store or to restaurants, grocery stores, because I'm very aware of many large distributors that just plain give away their stuff, trying to get rid of it before it spoils. So I think that's a really great question, but I don't have a really solid answer.
Yeah, I too kind of have something to say about this as well. I mean, I think for local restaurants, again, it all goes back to connecting the local consumer with the local producer. Local restaurants really relied heavily on the national supply chain, and now that has really made a huge decline, it would be great to see more restaurants reaching out to more local producers instead of relying so heavily on those national supply chains. So I think there would be a huge increase over the next year in restaurants working with more local farms, more local producers, and reaching out and really connecting local community and binding that together.
Yeah, I think that's really great. We've had this long-standing, shop local, but maybe it also needs to be taste local and eat local. I love this conversation where that's going. I'd like to just say again, thank you so much to all of our panelists and Alexa as well for participating in our small producers panel. Again, thank you to Dwayne Stroh at Healthy Harvest, Stephanie Bodwin at Crummy's Meatless Crumble, and Cleta Heiner-Felsing from Cleta's Natural Beef. Thank you so much for participating. As we wrap up today, we'll move on to our next slide. And just a few things to point out that you can access today's slide presentation at the eastcoloradosbdc.com/disaster-relief website, as well as an array of different resources available to you. One thing I try to encourage people every time is to visit the alternative funding resource Google Sheet that's on our website. So if you're still looking for a funding opportunity for your business, there's a lot of different things on there that you can find. Another resource is the coloradosbdc.org/COVID website. This has been getting updated daily with new information. And the last one here, but of course not least, is for resources related to entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial communities. Go to startupcolorado.org. Fantastic resource for information that's coming up. And let's go to the next slide. For questions and call recordings, you can access this on the Choose Colorado YouTube channel, which is linked here. If you've still got questions, reach out to us. You can contact startupco@colorado.edu, or if you've got ideas for other topics you'd like to see come to you every Friday at 3 p.m. right here, let us know. We'd love to know what you're looking for, what kind of information. Next slide. Just a reminder that Startup Colorado has a fantastic podcast. And if you have never listened to a podcast before, you can download it at the Apple Podcast store or the Listen on Google Play Music store. They've got some really good episodes just recently, including reopening the trail map. We can do this, a note from a Colorado attorney, and finding calm and clarity in a chaotic mind. I mean, I think we all feel that a little bit sometimes. But you can find that podcast. You can subscribe to it today at startupcolorado.org/podcast. I do want to remind you, I did say every Friday, but next Friday, we will not have a regional call on Friday, May 22nd. We are just going to wish you a happy Memorial Day weekend and hope you enjoy that. We will be back the following Friday to bring more interesting and new things that are happening in our crazy world. And really, I just want to thank you all for participating today. We're going to end it slightly early, give you a few more minutes, and hopefully you get to enter into your weekend a little bit early. So thanks again for joining us today, and happy Friday.
Thank you.